Joel, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you, Rudy.
How do you pronounce your last name?
Gotera.
Gotera.
Yeah, I don't. Well, yeah, Gotera. I don't know. I've heard it.
So you can roll the R. It's okay. Gotera.
Yeah,
it's fine.
I feel like Spanish speakers tend to correct me when I say Gotera. So
they correct you on your own name.
Yeah,
huh?
they do. My family, I always grew up saying just Gotera. So
Gotera. Okay, and you're Filipino, right?
Correct.
So does your mom call you Joel, or your parents, your dad?
Yes. Wait, is that normal?
It's very normal in the Philippines for people to be Joel to be called Joel.
I actually didn't know that. So whenever I tell people how to say my name, it's always my mom says Joel, my dad says Joel. Like you pick whichever one you want. But I never knew that was a normal thing. I really didn't. That's crazy.
Joel or Joel?
Yes.
But you prefer Joel?
Yeah, I usually tell people Joel.
Joel Gotera.
Correct.
Not Joel Gotera.
Correct.
Okay. And here at St. Faustina, what's your role?
I'm the assistant coordinator of youth ministry, which means I just work with the junior high and I help Katie, the coordinator of youth ministry, with all youth ministry things.
Junior high is mainly your thing.
Yes. Yeah.
Is there a huge difference with the junior high and high school?
Yeah, there is. I think, there's a lot, just maturity, of course, and then energy, and then attention spans. But I think with like the 8th graders, of course, they kind of, it's either they're behaving like high schoolers already, quote unquote, or not at all. So,
or still kind of carrying on that elementary mindset too, huh?
Yeah, like a lot of my outgoing 8th graders were very much like behaving like high schoolers, but then whenever we did something silly that I think a lot of high schoolers would hate, they're just all in. So it's a good time.
How old are you? I mean, you could pass for a middle schooler.
Yes.
You've got that youth.
I am 28.
28?
Yes.
Wow.
Much older, yeah.
I would have guessed a lot younger than 28. I would have guessed you're like
16.
Fresh. Maybe. You could pass for a 16-year-old. Yeah. Does anybody ever confuse that, like during any of those youth nights? Do any of the parents
all the
think?
time. There was, I'm trying to remember this now. This happened very recently, I think the beginning of the summer, where this woman in the church building was looking for like the leader for the youth. And so my high schoolers found me and they're like, oh, you can talk to Joel. And so I'm explaining her, yeah, like who do you need? What do you need help with? She goes, no. Like who's in charge of the youth? And I was like, no, me. And then she's like, oh, wait, what? I thought you were a high schooler. And then, we go on. And then I think like 30 minutes later, she's trying to look for me, runs into Katie, and she does the same exact thing. And Katie, of course, an adult,
yeah,
she's like, no, where's Joel? Joel, like he's in charge. And she goes, no, I work here too. So yeah, me and Katie are very youthful looking.
And you have that youthful energy about y'all too.
Yeah, I get that a lot too.
Did you grow up here in Houston?
No, from Fort Worth. Well, I was born in New Jersey, but basically a Texan. I moved to Fort Worth when I was 3.
Okay.
Or so. And so I moved to Houston back in 2017 and then left and then came back again like 2 years ago, 2020.
What brought your family here to Houston?
Or just me?
The first time, I mean.
Okay, so
Fort Worth. What brought your family here to Fort Worth?
I honestly don't remember. I think work. I want to say work, and then just getting out of the cold. My parents don't like snow.
New Jersey?
Yeah, they don't like the snow at all.
You don't have any memories of New Jersey as a...
No, my first memory was 3 years old.
And that was in Fort Worth already?
Yeah, my 3rd birthday.
And then how long were you in Fort Worth? From birth and from 3 years old until
even to now. So my family's still up there.
Oh, they're still there. Okay.
Yeah.
And then you are born and raised Catholic?
Yes. Classic Filipino upbringing. Just go through all of that, and then sacraments on time, whatever that's supposed to mean, and then
your parents, are they from the Philippines? Were they born and raised in the Philippines?
Yeah. My mom was from Boyombong, which is, I think, the South. And then my dad's from Davao City. And I hope I don't get that wrong. I always confuse it. I know my mom for sure is from Boyombong.
And your dad is from Davao?
I believe.
And they both came here to the United States, settled in New Jersey. Had you then moved to Fort Worth?
Correct.
Where they're still there now?
Correct, yes.
So you went through the school system in Fort Worth. Did you go to a public school or private school?
Public school, yeah. But
what was it like there in Fort Worth?
it was good. I think I like the weather even now much better than I do Houston because it's so humid here. But it was good. We had a lot. So my mom moved to Fort Worth, and then I also have three other siblings too. But
Older, younger?
2 older and 1 younger.
Okay.
So, and then my older siblings were about a year apart each. So kind of growing up with all of that, and then my youngest is way down there.
Boys, girls?
Older brother, and then sister, then me, and then a younger sister.
So you went through the school system in Fort Worth. Where did you go to college?
Texas A&M.
A&M. Okay, so that's what brought you more or less to the Houston area.
Yes, yeah. So, yeah, I love College Station. I miss A&M. A lot of our high school kids are going there now or graduating, going to A&M. And so I'm seeing pictures of this on their Instagram for the Catholic Center. And so, yeah, I miss it a lot.
You get all envious of them when they head out there.
Yes and no. I think I'm more jealous of the church they're building on campus, and then walking. I kind of miss like the walking around, just hanging out with friends, and then
The whole vibe.
Yeah, I never studied in college though, but the hangout part always so good.
So while you were growing up, did you think that you'd be, a youth minister?
Not at all.
What was your goal?
Ooh, okay. So my goal in high school was to be an engineer and to make a lot of money, a lot of money.
Okay.
And I think also just growing up in like the Filipino culture, it's either like I was probably either going to be a nurse,
Yes.
like most of my cousins or uncles,
Yes.
and then a doctor, which is what my brother's is right now, and then engineering, like something that
In the
can,
medical
medical engineering, something like that.
some degreed field there you have to pass a board exam.
Yes, exactly.
Of some sort. Yes.
And then make plenty of money. So that was my goal. And then when I got to A&M, I realized I'm really bad at math. Really bad. And so I changed majors spring semester because I realized maybe that's not what I should be aiming for, is a lot of money.
Now, growing up, how was your family's Catholicism? Were you guys Sunday Catholics? Were you very involved in the church? Did you just only show up to church every once in a while?
It was, we're nominally Catholic, I think, which is pretty normal, I think, with a lot of Filipino families. I went to Sundays when we could, but my mom, also a nurse, she was working a lot of weekends. And then my dad is nominally Catholic, but he's strayed away much more than that. And so even now he's not a practicing Catholic. So if you want to pray for him, that would be great for his conversion. But we grew up as kids just kind of having that kind of, I think as a man now and just as a boy watching their dad, not really interested and like kind of reluctant to go to mass, reluctant to take the kids whenever mom is gone, like had a lot of effect on me. And then even just not having much of a prayer life, and then I don't know, the kind of shallow
Going through the motions type thing?
Yeah. And then even just the mindset of once I get these sacraments, I'm out of here. And so, very, very shallow. And then when I got to high school, and I'm interacting a lot more, like being public school, a lot of like atheists, a lot of non-Catholics, a lot of different religions, I think I began to question a lot more. And so actually in high school, I was basically atheist.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because you were, you didn't really go to church that much. It was pretty much surface level what you'd experienced. So going through high school, not so much. What about going into college?
Yeah, going to college. That's a lot of my conversion. And so I think it's like to backtrack a little, even in high school, and what I've told a lot of, when I share my testimony is when I went on my confirmation retreat or received the sacraments, all of these things, I kind of had this very like poor image of who God is. And so I would like some of my friends that went on these retreats, like had this beautiful experience. And then they would like come up like, oh my gosh, I'm praying and God like blessed me with this new car or something crazy like that. And then for me, there was just like a lot of stuff going on in my family immediately, just with hospitalizations and just like financial. And there was just like, it was a very broken household, and praise the Lord, it's not like that anymore. But So when I hear like these kids having these like great experiences, like God's giving them these blessings, me as an atheist or like questioning high schooler was very much thinking like, well, God either doesn't exist and this is just like coincidence, or God must not like me at all and he's like doing this to me. And so coming out of high school, excuse me, I was very angry at the Lord if he existed. And because I think just of my relationship with my parents, and then just me being, I don't know, like classic high school angsty kid. like everything is worse than it actually is. And so
it kind of magnified that attitude.
Yeah.
The fact that you were going through high school, those teenage years.
I just projected a lot of like my idea of God, like from like my experience growing up and things like that. And so, coming out of high school, I was just very angry. I remember distinctly my cousin. So I went to A&M because my brother went to A&M, and then my cousin also, we were in the same class, and my best friend at the time also. But I remember hearing how like Christian A&M is, and so I remember like telling my cousin. I looked at him and goes, "I don't really care at this point if there's like if it's Christian, but these Jesus freaks will never get to me." I said that distinctly.
Those exact words.
Yeah. I was like aggressive, and also like I just rejected this whole idea of God, and like if he exists, he just sucks completely, like just terrible, whatever he is.
Wow.
Yeah. So
either there is no God, or if God exists, he's treating me terribly, and that's why I hate him.
He's out to get me. Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, going into A&M, just kind of trying, like, I at this point, I've just gone through like the classic, I don't say classic, just a very hedonistic lifestyle in high school, just self-centered, caught up in just the things that the world tells me is going to fulfill me. Yeah. And so
pretty much a party lifestyle.
Yeah, more or less. I was like the one that people didn't know had like a selfish lifestyle. I was kind of the good kid in class. But when we got to A&M, I was kind of, I think, reaching an endpoint of just like, there's no way my life is going to be like this forever. Like it can't be. So it was like I was in a very desperate place, and my best friend was a Baptist, very strongly so. And so he was like, "Hey, Joel, you want to check out these Christian ministries on campus?" And me being lonely and just like really he's like my only friend. I was like, "Yeah, sure, why not?"
And this is later on in your.
So this is really like the first weeks. So before A&M starts, the classes start, there's a week called Gig'em Week. Where like all these clubs and stuff like that, they kind of try to pull in members. And so much happened that first week, Gig'em Week. And so my buddy and I were just visiting ministries, stuff like that. And I'm like, and at a certain point I meet a group of evangelicals who were very like interested in me and like didn't want anything from me and just wanted to know about my life, and it made me really uncomfortable, but also very like something about this is different. And so like time goes on, and like the next week they invite me to this thing called Breakaway, which is, I don't know. Well, Breakaway is like this Tuesday night. It's basically a giant Bible study or like Protestant service that happens in Reed Arena, which is the basketball arena at A&M. Thousands of students, like so many. And it was like these things. So like you'd see like droves of college students walking to the basketball court for this. And so August 28th, 2012, section 212, I went with my best friend and like this Christian group of people I met. And I remember Jamie, my best friend, was on my right side, and then Josh was on my left side. And then we're sitting there. I'm way over my head. There's like not even like 1,000 students, but it was like thousands and thousands just like sitting in this arena with a stage in the middle.
So you're thinking, what am I doing here?
Yeah, I was like, oh my gosh, this is not like, I'm like, music is playing, it's Christian music, and I remember like I was like, I don't know what is going on, and this guy comes up on stage with a guitar, and he was like, all right, guys, let's praise the Lord, and everyone just like, yeah. Like everyone's screaming, everyone stands up, people are clapping, cheering, and I stand up and I'm thinking, what have I got myself into? Like I was like, what is going on? And then
Did you still think of these people as Jesus freaks?
yes, 100. This confirmed it. I was like, what are they doing? Like, I've never seen people clap and get excited for church at all. It was just so bizarre. And then
Because up until this point, for you, it was just motions that you went through.
yes, yeah,
Okay.
it was like following the rules obligation, just like get the thing done.
Go through the checklist.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly. And so people are just cheering, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going on? And so this musician, August 28th, 2012, Tuesday night around 9 or 10 p.m. I don't remember exactly. I just remember at a certain point, the musician starts playing songs, and I'm like, I'm not going to sing. And then these other people next to me are like singing and like, raising their hands and then like closing their eyes. Some are crying and some are laughing. And I'm like, what is this? And so the musician starts playing this one song called One Thing Remains. And it's very old. I told this story before and someone said I aged myself just with that one statement. And the chorus says like, your love never fails and never gives up and never runs out on me. And I just remember they kept singing that.
Yes.
And I remember just standing there and then like, just like that, I was like, oh my gosh, my life has been like so backwards. And I just started weeping, just like like the hide your face kind of weep where I'm just staring at the floor.
Yeah.
And just like, I realized there was a God, that he loved me and he still loved me despite how much I was trying to avoid him, how much I hated him. And so, I would say that's kind of like that my reversion moment where I decided like my life has to change from this day forward. I remember I walked out of that basically a new man, and it confused a lot of my family and a lot of my high school friends too.
The friends that were with you, did they notice it right away?
I think so.
Say
Yeah.
anything?
Yeah. I really don't remember anything that happened after that, like with conversations. I remember this one guy who was like the leader of like this Protestant ministry I went with. I remember him and I talked for a bit on our way back to campus, but I just remember distinctly walking from the south side of campus, just like looking at the ground as I'm walking and just thinking like my life can't be the same. That's all I really remember. It was very much like I don't know.
Like I'm so on the wrong path right now.
Yeah, it was very much like that whole turning over of my life.
So what did you do with that?
I did a lot. And so
What was the first thing you did?
the first thing I did was I came back to that Protestant ministry. I
Okay.
kept going back to it. And so they kind of became that community that I needed to just kind of show what it meant to have a community, and then what they kind of like led me in like these very basic like Christian like prayer, Bible study, stuff like that. And so I was super, 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 super active. I was excited to be there every Wednesday night. They called large group. I was in their Bible studies, and then lunch I was always eating with them. Whenever people were hanging out, I was always with them.
So were you in the process of converting at that point?
Yeah, I was. I mean, what I tell people is I was essentially like an evangelical. And like that ministry, we did a lot of on-campus evangelization. And so we would just go up to people and just like, hey, like, what do you think about Jesus? Like, who do you think he is? Well, let me tell you the gospel. And so we would do stuff like that. And so they were kind of, walking alongside me, while at the same time on Sundays, I was going to mass with my brother and
Going to Catholic mass
yes,
with your brother. Okay.
Yeah, so for whatever reason, probably the Holy Spirit, I just felt like I needed to be there for Sunday. Maybe it was just this sense of obligation. But I mean, St. Mary's in of itself was just amazing. So it was beautiful to me. And I remember, every Sunday I would go there. Every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, maybe Saturdays, I was with my Protestant friends. And I also remember, this is all in the fall. Again, a lot happens within the span of
that short amount of time.
Yeah, a lot happened. And I just remember there was a point where I was starting to question a lot of like why I'm Catholic and what's the point of doing what we do. And a lot of my Protestant brothers and sisters were also questioning, why do I have to go to mass? Like, why is there a Mary statue at the front?
Uh-huh.
And why is there like why do you guys do these things? And I didn't know. And I was like, I don't know.
Did your brother know that you were doing this other stuff?
Yes.
What did he say?
Well, he was actually part of the reason why too. So he was also had this major reversion 2 years prior with a evangelical group, a different one.
Okay.
And so he didn't, I forgot what exactly happened, but he just like encouraged me to visit like the ministry he was in, and then St. Mary's, and then all these other ones. And so, I mean, I just actually learned this yesterday, where my brother and his best friend, before I was going into A&M, were like praying for my conversion as I was entering A&M. I just learned this, yeah, and I was like, oh, that's really cute. I'm thankful for that. But,
so he had an experience similar to yours.
Yes, yeah. I'm not really sure the details of that, but I just remember he was much more active in the youth group than I was. But I remember like something changed also in him, when he got to A&M.
What about your family? Your parents, did they hear about what was going on with you? Yeah,
well, I came back. It's like that new convert zeal, essentially, where I got back and I was like, change your lives. And it was horrible. Oh my gosh. I'm like embarrassed sometimes when I think about it.
When you have that new energy, yes.
Yeah, like I was basically new convert zeal, and I just want to tell everyone, like change your lives.
Because you're on fire.
Yeah. But I did it horribly because I was just like, stop sinning. God doesn't like sin. And then
a lot of people don't know how to deal with that. That's why when you have that new energy. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think that was maybe like something I wish it would have been nice if I kind of was walked through that too. But when I got home, man, people were so weirded out by me. And I remember like my high school buddies, I went back to watch a band show because I was in marching band in high school, and watch like how the new kids are doing. I went there to tell them to give their lives to Jesus. And like people are like, oh, he's kind of weird. And I'd be like, we'd be sitting in a circle and like, so like, what are you guys struggling with? Like, what do you need help with from the Lord? And then I remember they're like, I don't know. And I was like, oh man, we got to work on that. And it was bad. So, but I think my parents, of course, were just very like, what is going on?
Because they knew you as a different person.
Yeah.
The person who called people like that Jesus freaks.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
Yeah. So, yeah, I know they obviously recognized it, but also I was significantly happier. I don't know, like you can imagine this, but I used to, in high school, I had like long hair, it covered my face.
Okay.
Like angsty, all black.
Like all emo and all.
Yeah, I was the emo scene kid. And so I never smiled. And if I laughed, it would just be like deadpan, like, or like,
wow.
It was terrible. I was such a poser, but... But yeah, even coming back, I just remember people like saying, Joel, like, you're smiling a lot more.
Wow.
Or you're laughing a lot more. And so even just like, there was like a significant change. Like,
when you have all this energy, what kept you from going completely, converting completely, and, going away completely from Catholicism?
Yeah. I think partially was my brother, who was getting more active at St. Mary's.
Okay.
And then other ones just being the priests there. Bishop now, but Father David Condrela was the pastor there. And so, and it was just like the community there, like something just drew me in. And I believed the sacraments were real to like whatever degree I believed it. And like I would go to confession very often. I was a scruple. And so I had to go confess everything. But it was with, I think, for good intentions. But a big thing that happened in the spring at St. Mary's was, there's this retreat called Awakening, which I think is very popular. Aggie Awakening at A&M.
I've heard some of our former guests talk about it, yes.
Yeah, so Aggie Awakening was like this was like the spring of my freshman year. Again, a lot happened that first year.
Wow.
And so my brother, and like, they don't do this anymore, I hope, but like a big thing that happened was like Awakening was like don't tell anyone the secrets that happened at retreat. And
yes, of course.
And then the other thing being, I'm going to sign up everyone even though they did not ask to get signed up for this retreat. So my brother did that. One day I get a call like, "Hey, congratulations, you're on Aggie Awakening." I was like, "What is that?"
You're signed up for this retreat. You have no idea.
Which my brother made me do. And I remember I was like, okay. He encouraged me a lot to go, and like that would just be good. And so I went, and then there was, I remember distinctly, I think it was March 4th, 5th, 6th. I don't remember the exact days. I remember my reversion day at least. But Friday night where we're just praying around in like a circle, and everyone is praying the rosary. And I do attribute some of like a lot of this to Our Lady too. But during the rosary, I just remember sitting there and thinking, like, I think this is where my home is supposed to be. Like that stuck with me. I just knew I was like where I needed to be, and like the Lord wanted me to be there. And I do think like in that moment, Mary was very much interceding and pulling me in, even though I had no idea. But you know, looking back, it was that moment during the rosary where I just remember like, I think I need to be here.
Wow. Speaking of Mary and the Rosary, now you did mention you were asking a lot of questions about why do we pray to Mary? Why do we pray the Rosary? Why do we do these things? Did you go and explore more about those questions?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, again, St. Mary's was so good, and they had this thing called Catholicism 101, which is like an apologetics, just kind of like the foundations. I used it. I went to it because I wanted to prove everyone wrong. So not really great intentions at all. But yeah, so I ended up like understanding more and more of the faith, and it was just in conversations, like listening to the homilies, researching my own answers on Catholic answers, and I think a lot of it was just me also learning how to say like I don't know the answer, but I still trust like what the church is teaching. And so I did get answers. I was never good at explaining it to my Protestant brothers and sisters, because some of them were fallen away Catholics, and some were much more aggressive than I think would be ideal in any conversation. And so I just learned to kind of not engage in conversations that was just a matter of I'm right, you're wrong. No, I'm right, you're wrong. So,
yeah, just try to avoid that conflict already.
Yeah, because I knew I couldn't. Like, I'm not capable to like convince you of anything. If
they're not going to budge, you're not going to budge. Exactly. Let's just not talk about these things. We can still be friends.
Yeah,
and all. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, did you change your major?
Oh yeah. So again, freshman year, after while this has all happened, conversion, coming back to the Lord.
Doing bad in math, right?
Doing bad in math. I remember my final of that semester. It was like the basic math course, and it was 10 questions long, and it was 3 hours. And I just remember sitting there, staring at this paper for 3 hours, just writing numbers that I thought were important. And then my buddy and we got up, left, and I was like, bro. And then he looked at me and goes, dude, that was so easy. And I was like, yes. So easy. And somehow I got a D, which isn't like not failing, I guess, but failing to me. So I switched into international studies, got a minor in Japanese. I liked culture, I liked people, and then I got a minor in Japanese.
Why specifically Japanese?
Yeah, so at this time, I was really into. I mean, this.
Please tell me manga and anime, please.
Yes, I was.
Oh wow!
Like I used to tell people that it was not. That's not why. I just like Japan. But that was a big factor. The other one being is my brother and I and my dad. It was like this very like father-son moment growing up where we'd watch. It was called Samurai Saturdays on some episode where we'd just watch samurai movies.
Okay.
It was like black and white. And so that already had me attracted to samurais, or just Japan, even though Japan doesn't have any samurais like they used to. But so I picked Japanese. Not really practical at all today.
Are you fluent in Japanese?
I'm not. I there was a point where I could like very much hold conversation. I could get around like Japan. I studied abroad in Japan for 2.5 months. In 2015, I think, the summer. And so I was able to just travel on my own if I needed to and just understand what was going on. But not fluent anymore. I
lost it.
lost it. I can say like a few things, or I can like kind of pick up what's going on, but not really anything. But I still remember the rosary in Japanese. So
that's cool.
Yep.
So you can go to Japan and pray the rosary in Japan.
That's about it. I'll just like start saying the Hail Mary in front of them.
Even with the manga, you can't, with the animes and stuff. Would you pick up any of it?
Not anymore.
Not
no.
anymore.
I had a capstone project to complete my minor, and I had to translate a manga. That was my project.
Wow.
And so I was able to do that. Not anymore.
Did you take like kendo classes or karate classes or anything?
Have you been like watching? I was like, why do you? Yeah, I did. Actually.
You did? Oh
Yeah.
my gosh!
It's so fun. I was like, have you been? Were you following me, Rudy?
Well, I would have done that.
Yeah,
you're getting into the culture.
Did. Yeah, no, So my best friend and I at the time, we both decided to join the kendo class, and
specifically kendo.
Yeah,
okay.
we specifically joined kendo, and I remember. Yeah, that's so funny. I forgot that I did that.
So with the wooden swords and everything.
So
okay.
I never got there long enough to like buy the armor and stuff, but I did a couple of, I think a semester long of just kendo, things like that.
So you got the basics down.
Yeah, I knew how to like strike, and then I knew how to move, things like that.
Do you have a samurai sword at home?
Yes.
You do? Nice.
Yeah, I still have the what's it called? The thing. The wooden bamboo sword.
Yeah, I don't know what that's called.
Yeah. I was like, why not, Rudy? Yeah, I still have that. And then, yeah, that was a good time.
So how did international studies lead you to youth ministry?
Okay. I was like, man, it's funny reflecting on how the Lord does so much. International studies, and during this time, just being involved more and more at St. Mary's, just kind of recognizing some call to missionary life or like evangelization, whatever it was. I also felt like I had to like really pursue priesthood, whatever that meant. And so I think junior year, I began to like really explore that. And I got a spiritual director. I remember just like telling everyone and their mothers that I was called to be a priest, just telling everyone about that. And so the summer of my junior year, I went and studied abroad in Japan, one for my minor, the other one being I wanted to be a missionary.
Okay.
And then the other one being like I felt like I was called to be a priest, and so put it together to be a missionary priest. And so I got a lot more involved in ministry my junior year, like specifically at St. Mary's, my junior year of college. And so I don't know how that tied in at all. I just wanted to tell people I wanted to be a missionary priest in Japan, I guess. But yeah, so I did that, and I just visited religious communities, things like that. And then just recognizing something about people was very important, and like wanting, something about culture, people, stuff like that. And so like the way I understood it junior year was I'm probably called to be a missionary in Japan.
Okay.
Disclaimer, I'm not. I realized like that's not what that was. But post A&M, stuff like that, I basically it concluded my senior year where I just expected to be a seminarian with a religious community, the Legionnaires of Christ, because that was my spiritual director. And then I didn't have a great prayer life at all still, but I do remember I had the application, I was about to fill it out, and I just stared at it, and I just heard God say, no.
Oh.
Yeah, I was horrified because I didn't apply for anything. I had no goal. I had nothing lined up. I was like, I told everyone, I'm going to be a seminarian with the Legionnaires of Christ.
You were telling people already.
Yeah, this is like my tendency is to tell everyone things that have not even happened yet, but just a thought in my mind.
Oh, this is going to happen.
Yeah,
I'm going to be a missionary. I'm going to be a seminarian.
Yep. So lo and behold, all my relatives are like, why aren't you in seminary yet? But yeah.
So you heard God say no.
Yeah, and like that was, I knew it was God because it was like so clear. I don't know. My prayer life was fairly like on off, but I just remember just being so clear that God saying no.
This is not for you.
Yeah, and I went to my spiritual director. I was like, Father, we need to talk. And then like we're just walking around campus, and he just looks at me and goes like, what do you want to do? Like, what kind of man do you want to be? And I look at him and I go, I want to be a missionary. And so that's kind of how I ended up going from there into, I became a domestic missionary with Life Teen Missions.
Okay.
So they're based out in Georgia. But like between that, I just started applying for I just looked up Catholic missionaries. So I applied to NET. I applied or half applied to Life Teen. I was looking into Focus. I was looking into, I heard about Adore at a certain point. I heard about St. Paul's outreach, like stuff like this. And so Life Teen ended up being the one that I was very clear that the Lord wanted me there. So
then you moved to
Georgia,
Georgia.
Georgia, Camp Hidden Lake. So
how long were you there?
1 year, and that was like a major place of healing for sure. Coming out of A&M, like I have given my life to the Lord as much as I possibly could, and try to pursue Him as much as I possibly could. But a big thing that I never really knew was like how much like the Lord wants to heal a lot of just these lies and gunk. That was like I was really living out of my wounds in a lot of places, and so
you were carrying baggage.
A lot of baggage.
Okay,
a lot of baggage. And so when I got into Life Teen, it was a 1 year commitment, and so the whole idea of their missionary program was live in community with men and women, men's house, women's house. And then every weekend there'd be retreats and you learn how to do ministry there. But the biggest thing was learning how to have this rhythm of prayer, and like living out of that. And so a lot of prayer time. We did holy hours every day, and then we did morning prayer and night prayer every day. And we always did that as a community, daily mass every day. When we did ministry, we were usually paired up or with like more than, so there was about 12 of us. And so, and then I met my best friend there too, David Sanchez. And so he was my roommate.
So it is a pretty rigid structure when it comes to your day.
Yeah. And it was like their rule of life, which they have, is based off of the Benedictine rule. And so that whole idea of hospitality, welcoming people into it.
Yeah.
It was like a semi-contemplative life because we were usually there and then we'd go off-site to help out the local parish. And so...
did it kind of feel like you were in a seminary?
No, not at all.
Not really?
There was a woman next door.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You don't see a lot of women in pre-seminary.
I don't think so, at least. Yeah, so it didn't really feel like that, but I think when I discerned entering that community, I also discerned that the Lord just wanted me to know Him specifically and not be, like college kids. And I'm like very apologetic. Like I feel bad even now for when I talk to college kids, where like there's like this anxiety of like knowing your vocation by the time you graduate, and I had that anxiety a lot.
Oh,
yeah, I'm just like, oh my gosh, this person said they're called to be a priest. Like, I don't know what I'm going to be in. And this person's engaged and she's 21. Like, how is that possible?
I don't have a plan, right?
Yeah, I have no plan. I got to get something figured out. But when I entered Life Teen, I just discerned that the Lord just wanted my heart. And that was the big thing which brought a lot of healing. That first week, we did Missionary Academy, which was like all the missionaries. So there was another base of 12, and so there was about 24 of us, and I just the Lord loving me a lot, and like especially like the Father Himself, just a lot of the father wounds I grew up with, like just went really, really, really deep. And so when I realized and that I was like a son, and like the Father loved me and delighted in me, that brought a lot of freedom, and of course like that. The wounds go deep, of course, but I learned to love myself as a son, learn to love the Father as God the Father, and learn to love my dad too, and like even in his brokenness. And so that significant amount of healing, and just even like learning how to have brothers and not be. I was very not woman crazy, but I think just the way I grew up, even in college, I just associated with the woman more. I was like open to them, more attached to like those kinds of friendships and things like that. But when I got to Life Teen, I was in a house of like 5 other guys, and we didn't always, like, most of the time you were not allowed to go to the woman's house unless you went with like one of the other guys. And so
you bonded with guys more.
oh yeah, we had Nerf wars. It was fun. There was like I missed them a lot. I was just talking to one of them last week, but yeah, a lot of dumb boy shenanigans, like shooting Coke cans with BB guns on downtime, or like hiding in the house with Nerf guns, or I had my bamboo sword in the house too. So like it was like kind of attacking the other guys, like silly stuff like that, but also like praying with each other and then crying with each other, talking about like where we need healing with each other, and like the biggest thing, like calling each other to like a life of holiness, which I never got that. I don't remember having that kind of experience in that way growing up. So that helped a lot, healed a lot.
So how did your parents react to all of this? You know, you changing your course and then going into international studies and all that. Did they resist that?
Yeah, a little bit. So my mom was more like just weirded out, but didn't really say too much because me being me, I was super. Basically, I'd be like, Jesus told me to say this. Or do this, and
you can't argue with that.
Yeah, you can't argue. And then she was like, "Okay, like I won't do that. Won't say anything." My dad, because he wasn't a practicing Catholic at all. He was much more vocal, and he was even when I told him I was going to be a missionary, he was like frustrated with like the salary, and then,
or you might be a priest.
Yeah, might be a priest, and so he was horrified of that. And he would like always try to bargain as time went on. And first of all, it was like not at all. Later in the future, he was more of like bargaining, like, well, I see married priests around, maybe you can do that. So, like, I mean, in my mind, I see conversion in that too with my dad. But yeah, they were, just in general, they were not big fans. And even my extended relatives, because as Filipinos, whatever you share
with your parents,
it goes to everyone else. And so everyone else was kind of like, it's weird. But I mean, the general response also was just, is that what makes you happy? Which I kind of hate that response, but it's fine.
So you were there for a year. What happened?
So much. So the year was a lot of just learning what it means to be a missionary disciple, what it means to be in community, what the prayer, like how to develop this prayer life. And so there was different stages, of course. And I think like 2 of the biggest things, or maybe 3, was in December, we went to Haiti for a week-long mission trip because Life Teen has a mission base there. And then in January, an 8-day silent retreat, which like blew my mind. that changed my prayer life like completely.
8 days of silent reflection. Wow.
Yes, I love it. And then after that was ministering to our summer missionaries as they were doing summer camp stuff. So, and all through that was just a lot of healing, a lot of learning how to deal with community and like love community. And then while I was like trying to discern my vocation and that, all of that stuff.
So why aren't you still there?
So it's a 1-year commitment.
It's just a year.
Yeah. So the way it works is after the year, like you've been formed as a missionary disciple, and as missionaries, your mission, like Matthew 28:19, go therefore make disciples of all nations. Like you're going out. You got to go.
Okay.
Yeah. Not really kicking out. It used to be a 2-year thing, but they just realized that you don't have to have like the title missionary to be a missionary. And so, a large majority of us discerned other things, and then some of them were invited to stay a 2nd year to either be a missionary to lead the new ones, or to fill in like staff roles and staff needs for the camps. But if I could, I really wanted to stay a 2nd year. I'm looking back, like I'm thankful it didn't, because I think it was probably more out of fear that I wanted to stay than it was
fear of the unknown of what was going to happen next.
Fear of the unknown, and again, like we were able to take some of our kids this past summer to Camp Hidden Lake, and so like that, it has a very like this very special place in my heart. But I didn't. It wouldn't have been a good thing for me to stay there because I think everything else that happened after I left was needed for my own holiness and growth and freedom.
So what did happen after you left? So after you left, after that year, you go back to Fort Worth?
Yeah, so I ended up joining this other domestic ministry, apostolate, called Adore Ministries. And so that was my first trip to Houston. So they're based out of Houston.
Okay.
They needed, so a little different from Life Teen, but it was basically working as a youth minister at a parish that can't really afford it. And so I joined right after Life Teen. I joined right as Harvey hit Houston.
Oh.
And so, yeah, it was, so I was in Fort Worth, like fundraising for this new ministry. My dad, again, not a huge fan. My mom, I think at this point, my mom kind of like accepted that this is the course.
Her hands are in the air. Okay, whatever Joel wants.
Yeah, she was like, I guess this is what's going to happen. He's just going to be doing this stuff. And so, so I was assigned to a parish in Galveston, Houston. And then the week I was supposed to move in, Harvey had hit.
What parish was this?
It was St. John Fisher in Richmond, Texas.
Okay.
And so, I was supposed to go there. Harvey hit, and then it was flooded out for like a week.
Yeah,
and
that whole area, yeah.
Yeah, it was like, I mean, I couldn't even drive down there. It was like chaos.
Because the Brazos River, right? Was that it? Yeah.
Yeah, I remember getting a phone call from my director saying, hey, don't drive down because like there's no way you can get here.
You'll have to swim, right?
Yeah, essentially. And so eventually I got down to Houston, and then a lot of what I was doing was the Harvey relief work, and then eventually getting started at the youth ministry at St. John Fisher with another missionary. Wow. So it kind of changed what the whole plan was supposed to be. Yeah, it was
Harvey relief in the beginning, huh?
Yeah, it was crazy. And even a lot of, I think that first few months I was doing both, where like the missionaries would be asked to help out at this house, tear down walls, replace stuff. I remember I almost got electrocuted.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I'm not very good with tools. I was not very smart, but and then water. Yeah, it was just not good. But so I kind of flip flop. Eventually, when the ministry started getting picked up, I was doing a lot more of the youth ministry stuff.
And then how did that bring you here to St. Faustina?
Man, how did that bring me to St. Faustina? Well, for that year, it was just a lot of prayer and a lot of discernment, a lot of still considering like vocation, like what is the Lord calling me to, knowing I have this like desire for evangelization and missionary spirituality. And so towards the end of my year and a half or so with Adore Ministries, I decided to take a step back from Adore. I started leaving. I don't know why I said it like that. Like, take a step back. And I was leaving Adore with the intention of pursuing more deeply a call to religious life. And so,
so it was still there, even though you heard that no when you were.
Yeah, like I discerned that no was definitely a no to now, and a no to like that moment, and no to Legion. And so,
not no forever.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And so, during my mission year with Adore, I had gone on a visit with two different communities, one being the Servants of Christ Jesus. They're based out of Denver. They're a baby community, but I love them. One of their priests was my spiritual director for my 8-day silent retreat. Throughout that entire year, I love them. His name is Father James Claver. And then the other community I visited was this Franciscan Friars of the Renewal, who are very popular because of their podcasts and Ascension Presents.
Yes.
So I left Adore with the intention of pursuing this like genuinely. And so I did two come and sees with the Franciscan Friars of the Renewal, stayed there at 2 different trips, 5 days each, and then eventually went on a 30-day silent retreat in the summer.
Wow.
So this is I think going into 2019, I did a second visit with the CFRs. And then in the summer, I heard, because I was on their newsletter, the Servants of Christ Jesus, they were doing a 30-day silent retreat, opened it up to any men that wanted. And I don't know if you know, but silent retreats are expensive. They're like they kind of like it's like I remember looking it up later on, like something like $4,000, $3,000, and that's like 30 days, paying for a meal, paying for board.
Just the meals alone for 30 days is a lot.
Yeah, so it was expensive, and so the servants, when they were like posting on their newsletter, it said like $1,200. That's all it costs. Because they're mendicants, meaning they don't like people. They just take donations, and so people were donating money, and then them not having any money, just like contacted retreat centers in like the area or like in the United States and tried to find the cheapest one, I think, is how it worked and what would work for the 30 days. And so the retreat center they found was in Utica, New York, and then meals were cooked by us. And so, yeah.
That's how to cut the cost.
Yeah, they cut it a lot. So it was $1,200. And so I did 30 days in Utica, New York with my spiritual director, Father James Claver.
Wow.
Yep.
And then you're not a priest now.
I'm not a priest now, no.
What happened?
Well, I mean, I went to the 30 day with the intention of, like I need that vocational clarity. But even like reflect, and if you've ever have you ever gone on a silent retreat?
Yes, I have. Not a 30-day one, though.
Yeah, like even now, like my 8-day silent retreat and my 30-day, I still reread my journal and I still pray with it. And so I'm even looking back at it now. Like I think the biggest thing the Lord wanted, more than anything, was more healing. Because I remember like that first week, this is spiritual exercises, a lot of silence. It was just, the Lord's just like let's open up that stuff that you're still hiding from.
So after all of that, is that when you found out about the opening at St. Faustina?
No, I have such a long
Oh, there's still more.
There's so much more. Yeah, like the 30 day was a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, and so I started, there was a clear call to pursue a master's in theology, so I'm studying at Franciscan online right now, getting my master's, which will take forever because I'm going so slowly. And then I think that year, I just kind of like, when I left Houston, I swore off Houston because I hate Houston.
Because of the humidity?
Like I was like, oh my gosh.
Well, you also came during Harvey, which was a really bad time for Houston.
Yeah. And I think also I just didn't know how to handle ministry or like just because, again, wounds and stuff like that. I was living out of a lot of that too. And so when I had left Adore, I was like, I'm never coming back to Houston, all that stuff. And then eventually, one day I was like doing homework and like browsing jobs. And then I just remember looking at Galveston, Houston and seeing St. Faustina. I was like, I'll apply for that. And then I applied for a couple other jobs. None of the other jobs worked. And then I remember I eventually got contacted by Brian Lennox, the director. And then interview process, but it was COVID, and then he wasn't it's gonna make him look bad. He wasn't able to respond back immediately. So like I applied and then something happened because of COVID.
Yeah.
And then they had to like pause hiring. And so it was almost like I applied and then it almost took a full year for anything to really get rolling. But I eventually interviewed and they interviewed me at Noah's Ark.
In that room.
Yeah,
yes.
that room with the animals.
Yes.
But yeah, I remember like that interview, like this was the job I was most excited about. And it was between them or St. Faustina and this other missionary apostolate called Vagabond Missions. They're based out of Steubenville or Philly. I don't remember. But it was like inner city ministry, but it was between those two. But when I did my interview with St. Faustina, it was just very clear. Just
this is where you're supposed to be.
Yeah, and I there was just a lot of peace, and then I just remember like telling the Lord, I was like, I said not to Houston, like I don't want to go back. I was like, no, not again. But I'm glad
the
I'm
humidity.
Here. Yes, the humidity and
possibility of hurricanes,
traffic, concrete jungle, like all of this stuff. I don't know anyone here, but yeah, so the Lord called me here, and it's been, I think I'm nearing my 3rd year now.
Wow.
Yeah.
So no plans to go anywhere right now?
No.
Just studying for your master's in theology,
Yep. So
and ministering to the kids here.
yeah, so that's all I've got.
So tell us about the work that you do here at St. Faustina.
The word, I love it. I love it a lot. Coming in, I was kind of hesitant, but junior high kids are so interesting.
They're in that weird phase. That's why.
Yeah, they're in that weird phase
Between being a kid and an adolescent.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I think it's very beautiful, and I'm very blessed being able to be here for more than a year. Like even like my whole life post college was always 1 year
Mhm.
of being in a place, and so these past 2 years, almost the start of my third, being able to like walk with like this group of kids, and there's like of course some junior high kids are much more active, and even some of these high schoolers I've gotten to know, just kind of seeing Jesus work in them, and then even seeing like the conversion that happens is like a major gift.
How much they progress over the years. Yeah.
And this is something Katie and I have talked about, like whether we're giving talks or just I think even in our own conversations of how like it is a huge gift to be able to. It's a sacred blessing to actually see the Lord work,
Mm.
and then like even this past summer with my summer camp junior high kids, just kind of like literally just seeing the Lord work, and then seeing like hearing them talk about what happened, and even as some of my kids, my first group of kids are going into ninth grade, so of course I'm not going to be around them as much, and even having conversations with one of them. I remember, and I was like crying like when she was talking to me, where she was like, "Joel, can I just thank you for just being like, you're the reason why like we started talking about this." And I realized, oh my gosh, there's more to.
Wow.
And like not to say anything about me, but just like how I think sometimes people think of junior high ministry like it's just either like not important or just like another thing, or people. I think some people avoid it because they're hard, like they're weird, and like you don't know what you're gonna get.
It's a different phase for the
It
kids.
is
Yeah, they're
in such a bizarre phase. But man, like hearing how and seeing how the Lord is working, like over these past years, like makes it completely worth it. And like when I was talking to this young woman, I just remember I was just like, oh gosh, like this is like I was very moved, but I was like, I'm not worthy to like know this. But
It's a really crucial time though, because that's when you can start to lose kids.
exactly. And what I've told people and what I've heard too, and I believe it, is like if you get them, I don't like that phrase, but if they have this encounter with Jesus as junior high, like they're set. Like they're probably going to stick with it from that point forward.
You just have to get them to something to click there.
Yeah, exactly.
Once you get that to click,
you're
good.
And these kids they're kind of like, I don't know. I think there's like a mystical spirituality with some junior high kids where like sometimes they say these things in like small groups and I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to pray with that. I remember my first year I was doing like a small little Bible study, and I was like, so what do you guys pray about? And then this one girl goes, yeah, I was just reading the Bible last night, and I closed my eyes, and I just said, Lord, whatever you want of me, I'll do it. And I remember just like looking at her, I'm like, oh my gosh, she's a mystic. And I was like, she needs to be teaching this. Or even when I worked with Life Teen, a lot of junior high kids, and then like fairly clear, like nothing prompted kids having these vocational calls.
That's awesome.
Yeah, there was some kid who basically like heard Jesus say, to me, I want you to become a priest. And then being junior high kids, you ask more of what that meant. Just like hearing them say it, and then they say like, I want ice cream, and then they leave, and then that's it. Like it's like this weird, like super deep, super profound. I think much deeper than people imagine, and then still also shallow on the other end. And it's just, I don't know. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I love junior high kids are very fun. They're fun. You don't know what to expect.
Oh, thank you for coming in and telling your
for
story,
sure.
and we wish you all the best with with you working on your pastorals in theology and with all the work that you do here with the kids at St. Faustina.
Thank you. It's been great.
Oh yeah, God bless you.
Thank you.